On the next day, Holy Friday, the general captain asked his slave to ask the king if they have some food for them, as he considered them as friends and not as enemies. And the king agreed and entered the ship with his men.
I have here 3 porcelain jars covered with leaves and full of raw rice, 2 very large orate and other things for team. I do also have garment of red and yellow cloth and a red cap for exchange, and knives and mirrors for your slaves.
As they talked about their desire and wishes, the captain general showed various color of cloth, ornaments and other articles of merchandise, and all the artillery, some of which he had discharged for him, whereat the natives were frightened. Then the captain general had a man armed and placed him in the midst of the 3, and the king was speechless. Then the captain general told him through the slave,
"One of those armed men was worth 100 of your own men."
Oh, definitely. But then how did you find our place?
It took how many moon we had been before we see you land. And I venture if you want to take my men with you for some sort of your things.
Sure. If that's so.
Captain General and King Raya talked. 2 of General's armed men went along with the king for their agreement. Before King Raya Kalambu took the cup, he raised his clasped hands towards the sky and then to Pigafetta. While the king was holding the cup with his right hand, he extended the fist of his left hand towards Pigafetta saying,
"Ha! Here's to our friendship."
And being as one.
Then the men who joined the feast did the sign also towards each other. And the fun feast continues. Before the supper hour, Pigafetta went to the king and offered him such valuable things.
"Hello dear King Raya Kalambu, I am here to give you these things as a sign of friendship and gratitude."
After Pigafetta gave the gift to the king, he wanted to write the names of the things he gave using their language. When the king and his men saw Pigafetta writing using their language, they were all impressed. One of the men of the king arrived and called Pigafetta for a supper. During the supper they still did the same sign from the last feast. After the supper, the king told everyone to go with him to his palace. As they arrived to the palace, which was built up high from the ground on huge posts of wood, they immediately entered.
Just sit on the bamboo mat. A lot of delicious foods were served.
Upon the king called his son. Then the prince appeared and came over to the king and Pigafetta. Then 2 platters of roasted fish with sauce and rice arrived so that Pigafetta and the king will eat with the prince. The fun feast continues. But after a couple moments, Pigafetta saw his companion intoxicated, consequence of too much drinking. And the king suddenly stands up. The king signed that he was going to sleep. Next day, the king arrived and grabbed Pigafetta by the hand to eat and drink some refreshments. But then the boat of Pigafetta arrived to get them.
"Oh, forgive me, but our ship is coming for us now."
So this is a goodbye. Thank you, my friend.
"We had such a great time, dear king. Thank you."
The brother of the king named King Ryasoe, king of Butuan and Calagan, and 3 men came with them. The captain general kept him to dine with them and gave him a lot of things. As the captain general was showing the things that he will give to the king suddenly uttered,
"My dishes are gold and some portions of my home were made by gold."
The captain general listened, then smiled and continued to show him the things he wants to offer to the king. While Pigafetta was watching them, one of the men of King Ryasoe gossiped.
"Our king was very grandly decked out. He was the finest looking man among our people."
Listening, Pigafetta can actually saw of what the king man has just gossiped. He was black, hanging to his shoulders. His head was covered with silk and wore 2 large golden earrings. He wore a cotton cloth embroidered with silk that covered him from the waist to the knees. At the side of the king hangs a dagger, a haft which was long and gold, and a scabbard of carved wood. He had 3 spots of gold every tooth and was perfumed with storax and benzoin. On the last day of March and Easter Sunday, Magellan sent the priest and some men to prepare the Mass. Before the commencement of Mass, Magellan sprinkled the 2 kings with musk water. The Mass was offered up. The 2 kings went forward to kiss the cross as the other did, but did not offer a sacrifice. When the body of the Lord was elevated, they remained on their knees and worshipped him with clasped hand.
To you by the emperor, our sovereign. So that whenever he might go he might set up those token. He wished to set it up in that place for our benefit, for whoever any of our ship came, they would know that we had been here by the cross, and would do nothing to displease them or harm their property. If any of our men will be captured they would be set free immediately on that sign being shown. It was necessary to set the cross on the summit of the highest mountain for every morning you might adore it. And if you do that no natural occurrence will harm you.
We are pleased by that, and we will do it willingly.
Our Captain General wants to know your beliefs.
After their talks, in the evening the first king changed his mind. He sent a message to the Captain General the next morning that they were about to leave, pleading with him to delay leaving for 2 days until he could have his rice harvested, and asked for some men to help to might done sooner. The captain sent some men to help, but the king was slept all day because he ate and drank much. The men sent did nothing on that day, but they worked the next 2 days. Then one of those people sent food such as porringer and banana. The captain see that the native cared nothing but their knife. He tried to sahole, I don't know in English he, it with a ducato and dopione, but still native chose his knife. When one of captain's men went ashore for water, one of those people, native people, wanted to give him a pointed crown of massy gold, of the size of a colonna for 6 strings of glass beads, but the captain refused to let him barter, so that the natives should learn at the very beginning that we prized our merchandise more than their gold.